So I've been using a paid password manager for the last 4 or 5 years, and all the passwords that I use for each and every accounts are being generated by this password manager. And these passwords are not any particular word, but they're a mixture of letters, numbers, and alphanumeric characters. So one such account is currently showing as weak password. Oh no! How can this be a weak password when the very same was generated by this app itself? This is Erudition India podcast, where academic wisdom and pop culture coincides. Hello and welcome to the 11th episode of AI podcast. Today we have cloud security expert Aliva Das. Please welcome.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm excited to go here and understand or help you understand how cloud works. And yeah, let's take it forward.
So, what are the job role, what are the workload of a cloud security expert?
As a cloud security expert, I could go ahead and say that it's not defined with certain parameters. It's a multifaceted role where there are lots of roles and responsibilities for a cloud engineer or a cloud security expert. Now, with different cloud domains, it could be Google, Azure, AWS, etc. There would be different parameters of how the company works, how what's the client requirement, etc. But in general, when one goes ahead and takes on the responsibility as a cloud security expert, they first need to go ahead and know about the cloud system that they are working on, need to have a hands-on experience, and they go ahead and work on. For if I go ahead and take an example of AWS, it's IAM or Identity Access Management, where one needs to go ahead and make sure that there are certain roles allocated to certain users. For example, when you have a house, you don't want all of them to enter your home, right? So you will have keys for it. So identity access management goes ahead and gives roles and responsibilities to certain users. So in a company perspective, if I go ahead and think that there is a HR department, there is a DevOps department, there is a tester department, right? So there are different departments, different teams will have certain roles and responsibilities. So according to their roles and responsibilities, there would be specific permission given to them. So certain people would have access to few services, certain people will go and only have access to financial services, or HR can have the cost computing part where they don't need to know what other service is running. The developer who is working on it needs to have complete access of the applications that's been running. The tester just may need to go ahead and run what's happening and all. They don't need to code or look into the code perspective of a situation. So this is what the security engineer would go ahead and work on. You need to go ahead and be very cautious about the data security or data privacy. Because when you're storing something on cloud, your client, your customer is relying on you. So you need to make sure that the data that's there on the cloud is secured. So you need to test those data. You need to make sure that you go ahead and run. In general terms, you can do pen testing, but that's not the term. There are different terms for going ahead and testing the data that's there in cloud. But you need to go ahead and test that. You need to go ahead and understand the security that you have already put into place is secure now, because it's a ever running or evolving process of learning about how cloud security works and the threats that comes into picture. So when you have already uploaded a data in your server, which is virtual server, you need to know that whether it's safe or not. You need to have backups for those data, because you need to be prepared for everything. You can't just simply go ahead and say it's a no fail service. Every service is going to go ahead and crack here and there. So you need to be prepared for the disaster that may happen. You cannot just simply say that you will always avoid the disaster. So data prevention, data security comes into place. When you go ahead and be someone who knows about the system, cost comes into perspective as well. So you have already designed the work architecture for a client. You have already designed what other services that would be running. But everyone would love to go ahead and reduce the cost for the same services without hampering the security part, or without maintaining the part where you go ahead and have the security, but tone down the cost a little bit if that's possible. So cost optimization also comes into picture. You need to go ahead and understand that modulation of the services. So you need to play with the services here and there, that this services work with that. Security perspective works with the current work architecture even after changing, etc. So these are the general roles and responsibilities of a cloud engineer, no matter which domain they are working on.
How do you manage your work and travel?
A person who has always loved traveling since childhood, I didn't want to go ahead and cage myself only with work. I have always believed in balancing my life. The current work culture has shifted a little bit. We don't have to go ahead and be in office and work. So that image of working or an IT personnel just going in office and working has kind of shifted a bit. Not for all, because every domain, every company, every project that one works in is different. So, if a project allows one to go ahead and travel, they could remotely work from places, keeping in mind that they comply with the company's policies, etc. So, yes, you could go ahead and travel and work if possible. Keep your Wi-Fi available with you. Keep Do not go ahead and because if you are working in security, you cannot always go ahead and connect with any Wi-Fi server, because that creates a risk of exposing customers' information, companies' data, the data that you are working on. So definitely, you need to go ahead and carry a dongle of your own, the Wi-Fi that gives you the strength to connect with the database, with the server, or the work that you're doing. And make sure that you do not go ahead and simply go into a cafe and start working, exposing the company's data, making a threat to the security of the client's information. So if you exclude that, then I think you can include work and travel, but choose wisely.
Choose wisely.
Yes.
Tell us about the frustrating experiences that you had in explaining people the difference between Amazon Web Service and Amazon Retail.
I wouldn't say, maybe not use the word frustrating, but yes, I had my share of challenges. When I told my mother that, I have been selected for this job role, which includes, which allows me to work with Amazon. And her first question was, oh, so you're going to go ahead and receive some coupons, some discounts. So we are going to go ahead and get the benefit out of it. And I just took a deep breath and I looked at my mother and I thought that, okay, maybe she's unaware of it. And I explained her. Though I think it tangentially went above her head, but she understood that she's not going to go ahead and receive any discount or coupons from my end. And she was very disappointed, not happy for the fact that I have, or I am a part of something big, or the upcoming, part of an upcoming IT world, or the new thing that's buzzing. But her problem was, or her disappointment was, she's not going to go and get the coupon. So I'm not sure if I should be happy or sad. But yeah, that happened. But recently, I have come across, when I explained that what my current work domain is, and the question that I received was, "Oh, cloud, that means you work with weather. Do you go ahead and forecast weather?" And I was taken aback a little bit that someone people are not aware of what cloud computing is. So yeah, I had my share of disappointment, or I had to take a lot of deep breaths to calm my nerves. But yes, there are people who have asked the very basic question that, you know what, one of my package is not getting delivered. Could you go and help with that? And yeah, the basic question is, if you are working in cloud, do you go ahead and manage the weather, or do you work in something else? Because their understanding of cloud is as simple as the very specific term cloud.
So I've been using a paid password manager for the last 4 or 5 years, and all the passwords that I use for each and every accounts are being generated by this password manager. And these passwords are not any particular word, but they're a mixture of letters, numbers, and alphanumeric characters. So one such account is currently showing as weak password. Oh no! How can this be a weak password when the very same was generated by this app itself?
The third party companies or application that goes ahead and stores your password, make sure that they go ahead and have a mechanism. They will have an algorithm to go ahead and check whether the password is strong or weak. There could be different parameters, like there would be alphanumeric numbers, there would be the words wouldn't be included which are there in the dictionary, to make sure that your password is not being taken from there. So bot could go ahead and easily find words from dictionary, do few permutation combination and hack, or go ahead and understand what your password is. So these things needs to be avoided. Therefore, the general application that's being followed by most of them is, it should have a uppercase, a lowercase, special symbols, and not word specific, which is there in the dictionary. Now, when a password, how a password is strong or weak. A password could be set as a strong or weak one if it's not changed for a certain amount of time. So if you haven't changed your password for 90 days or a little over 90 days, then its system could go and mark that password as a weak password because you haven't changed it. It's there in the system for a longer span of time. It's there in their database. Someone might get a hold of your password, etc. So things could happen. Or maybe you are repeating your password in multiple places. So same password being used and your password manager is storing the password could be one of the reasons why your password is weak. Generally, the password manager shouldn't, and they will not go ahead and tally your password with other customers' password or other data that they have. But they go ahead and understand the password could be currently weak because it's a set pattern. It's a pattern that have been used by many people who are storing the password. Your data is definitely safe and secure. Your data is not going to go ahead and get breached. Your data is not going to go ahead and be shared with other people. But yes, when the system knows that there is an algorithm being set to it, they go ahead and try to make you aware of the fact that a password is weak for whatever reason that they think is suitable, and they completely focus on the fact that your security needs to be put in first place, and therefore they go ahead and make sure that they go ahead and give you the notification about the same. So these are the reason why a password could be notified as a weak and strong. A password could be the same password that you currently have could be strong while you have created it or while the system has created the password for you, but now after a certain amount of time it's weak because of these factors. And again, the system would go ahead, or a company would go ahead and make sure that they have a robust application or methodology to go ahead and make sure that all the password that you have is safe and secure. In case their system faces a downtime, in case they go ahead and have a breach of data, your data is safe and secure, and you don't have to lose your passwords that you have stored in their system. These are the points that one needs to keep in mind while they are storing their password, or the company, how the company stores the password.
What are the key differences in terms of privacy and security regarding a paid cloud storage plan and a free one?
So there is no set difference with free service or free plan and paid services, right? So security doesn't go ahead and differ so much with these two separate set of plans. But yes, when you go ahead and take a free plan for any cloud server, you get less services, right? The storage is minimal. The services provided by the company is minimal. You do not have a set engineer who will help if something goes wrong, if your data is breached, or because we have seen issues where of customer who has a free account have reached out to us by saying that their account have been compromised, their data is being taken by a third party, they are asking for ransomware, etc., but we cannot go ahead and help over there. The reason being, one, they haven't put enough protection. They do not have the plan to go ahead and receive a certain kind of services. And again, when things are lost, retrieving from there is difficult than initial protection. So we used to learn about prevention is better than cure. So we need to apply the same while we are trying to prevent from data loss. It's the same example. You cannot go ahead and say things have been stolen from your house. After a robbery, you cannot cry things, you have lost things. You need to go ahead and make sure that you had put off enough number of locks and keys. You have taken your share of prevention method. Yes, again, it's a sad part that someone has lost their data, but yes, security is important. If it comes to paid services, different kinds of application also gets added to it. There are certain set engineers who would help you, to guide you, to help you understand how to go ahead and secure your data. But other than that, there is no difference with free and paid. A company would not go ahead and sell out your data just because you are not paying them for a certain service. So there are free services where data is not as secure as the pay services, but it's not out in the open for anyone to grab the data.
Is the job market for CSE engineers getting saturated nowadays?
I would go ahead and say the answer is a yes and a no, right? Yes, because if you're not upskilling yourself, of course it is getting saturated. And if you're upskilling yourself, no one is going to go ahead and steal your job. There would always be a requirement for your knowledge, and you can go ahead and steal anything, but you cannot steal anyone's knowledge, right? So let's say someone who has only a degree and they want to go ahead and be a part of a company which is high paying, but you have no skills. Imagine you hiring someone with the skills that you want and they don't have it. You're definitely not going to hire them. Uh, I'm not saying you have to be a creme de la creme and you have to always be on top of everything, but you need to go ahead and make sure that you know something more than the rest of the crowd, because there are multiple engineering companies, or sorry, colleges that are currently present. Uh, with the population that we currently have, there are n number of engineers that who are completing their degree every year, and they need jobs. There are set number of companies, so it's not proportional, right? So yes, there are people who may have the degree but do not have the job, but it's not saturated. My recommendation or my two piece on this topic would be, please make sure that you do understand the fact that apart from the general degree that you are working on, you understand what the market needs. There is AI, there is data security, there is cloud computing, there are n number of things that you could educate or you could learn. You cannot just go ahead and rely on the fact that you have learned how to do maths. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, and that's it, you're done for life. Everything would be served in a silver platter and you would get things done just because you know a set amount of thing. Because try to understand that there are so many people who are learning the same thing. How would you go ahead and identify yourself that yes, I need to be selected for this? When you go ahead and work in a company, or when you go ahead and go for an interview, they do ask the question that why you? Why not someone else? That's a very common question that's been asked when you apply for a job role. So you need to understand that that's not to put someone down. That's not to make you feel that we won't hire you. But a company would want to know that how you could benefit the company, how adding you to the team would go ahead and increase the team's strength rather than reducing it. So it's not that the IT market is getting saturated. It's that maybe with the education that you're receiving in your school, in your college, you need to upskill yourself a little bit more, understand what the market needs, and then go ahead and apply for jobs. Now, there's a funny thing which goes around maybe in the IT world, that they always want experience. So you're born, you're alive for 18 years, but they would want 18 years of experience. So you're not going to go ahead and learn from your mother's womb. But yes, experience do count. You do not have hands-on experience on a certain service, certain application, or a topic, but you could go ahead and learn from different small organizations, which go and allow you to understand that skill, work on that skill, do little projects, go ahead and do internships in companies. Maybe you won't get paid enough, but experience do count. And after a certain point of time, if you have enough knowledge on a particular skill, no one can take that. So yeah, go ahead and train yourself with different or upcoming topics that's there in the market, which is a buzz, and you're good to go.
So there has been a meme circulating that in the 90s there was a helicopter pilot flying the helicopter and a cameraman shooting the bird's eye view. And during the late 2010s, both the job has been replaced by drone. So what other menial jobs can AI take over, and what should we do to get around it?
There would be people who would lose their jobs if AI takes over in the near future. Now, what jobs I can't go ahead and pinpoint like that, but yes, repetitive tasks could be taken over by AI. AI cannot go ahead and work or still mimic humans' empathy, strategic understanding, creative thinking, etc. So, let's say someone is putting data or adding data in a set pattern, that could be automated. AI is nothing but automating the current system, reducing the work labor, and giving the task to someone who is not human. So the non-human task that's being taken over would be the task that could be replicated without having an human interaction, without critical thinking, without going ahead and being creative. So you put 1 plus 1 is always going to be 2. So you don't need a rocket scientist to go ahead and think about it. But when you are making a rocket, you need to have n number of components put into place, because if it has worked this time, maybe due to the some composition in air, some pressure, etc., that temperature present in that day would definitely go ahead and change the parameters. Maybe that could not be captured by AI, but a human could understand that what are the key factors that needs to be taken care of. So one needs to go ahead and understand that they need to adapt and evolve in learning to make sure that their fear of losing their jobs by AI is gone. If you know something which is a skilled art, AI is not going to go ahead and take that over because it knows how to repeat the task, how to mimic the task, not to go ahead and enhance a lot or strategically think about a particular job like humans do.
For all the teenagers out there, please explain us the risk factors associated with modified messaging applications like GB WhatsApp and Pink WhatsApp.
It's always good to go ahead and be authentic. Piracy was never looked highly on, it's always frowned upon. So just don't go ahead and think that it's shiny, it's nice, it's cool, because nowadays teenager wants things which are cool, which looks appealing to the eye. So go ahead and make sure that when you download an application, you understand the authenticity of it. Therefore, every phone would have an option which is always enabled by default, which says that do not accept application or do not install application from a third party website, right? Do not go ahead and just simply disable that. It is given there for a reason. So we have Play Stores, we have Apple Stores, we have apps in every phone which allows a person to go ahead and download from a trusted source. When you go ahead and deviate from that line, it's completely your own risk. You need to know what happens when you download a third party application. So, if I go ahead and talk about WhatsApp at this point of time, WhatsApp makes sure that an end to end encryption is put into place. That is not guaranteed when you go ahead and download an application which is not actual WhatsApp or not original WhatsApp, in this case, Pink WhatsApp, right? So when you go ahead and download that, your data that you are uploading there could be leaked. The pictures that you send, you're sending someone is not secured. The conversation that you're having is not secure. So you need to understand the fact that you need to go ahead and remember that WhatsApp or any application that you're using or installing needs to be purchased, downloaded from a place which is trusted. So the trust needs to be built. You cannot go ahead and trust a stranger. You have always been said by your parents, your guardians, your elders that do not go ahead and randomly trust a stranger. And hence, my advice would be just because it's shiny, it's not gold.
How can AI algorithm change biotechnology for our healthcare needs?
AI is going to go ahead and try to understand what human needs or how you need medications, right? If you are storing your data, in and need to have that in medical history, right? That's the main fundamental why you need to go ahead and save your data or why you need to use AI so that they understand what is your history, how your body is built, what are the drugs you're taking, what are the preventive measures that needs to be adapted for you if you have a disease. And outside India, they do go ahead and store the data. They do go ahead and make sure that whatever medicines you are taking, the data is being updated, the data is being stored, so that you have a history. It's not about anyone leaking your data or playing with your data. It's just to make sure that what are the medications you have taken. Today, you have been to a doctor and you have taken a certain medication, you're allergic to it. The information is only captured between you and your doctor. The third doctor that you will be consulting after a couple of years may not know that you're allergic to something. And in a critical situation, that could go ahead and become a life and death situation. So if the data is already stored, this doesn't have to go ahead and concern you on a given point of time. Because if you're awake or if you're not in the position to go ahead and explain it to someone that, this is a particular drug that I'm allergic to, your data is already updated in the system. So yes, data needs to be stored if you want to have a healthcare which adjust to your needs. These days, people have different kinds of disease. You need to diagnose a disease to make sure that you get proper kind of medication. You need to make sure that the doctor who is diagnosing the disease understands that the answer that you're given to them, the question that have been asked, what are the ailments you are having? Are these being diagnosed correctly? As a human, there is a possibility of error, but when you feed the information to a particular application, because these are the set norms, that these are the things that happens and this would result to this. It's a x plus y is equal to z. So when you know this, and a doctor cannot go and memorize every disease that's there in the world. They cannot go ahead and comprehend so much information. I'm not going to go ahead and say they don't know something. All I'm trying to say is that it's not humanly possible to store n number of diseases in your head. You need to go and always consult, read books, etc. AI is going to store that information, and then they're going to go ahead and give you a diagnosis that this is the ailment that you have. These are the drugs that's good for you. These are the drugs that could be an alternative drug. This is not good for you, etc. That data could be stored. Indian government is also trying to go ahead and incorporate the same. And I think storing the data is only going to go ahead and give us more pros than cons.
Recently, there has been a large scale outage by Microsoft, and because of which people again got to see handwritten boarding passes. So, such breaches and such outages can result to a banking system collapse. How far is this true?
So, Microsoft is being used in many sectors, not only in IT, whether it's banking, finance, HR, aviation, etc. So, they mostly go ahead and use Microsoft Office to go ahead and make sure that they go ahead and complete their day-to-day activities, etc. So, the reason why there was the outage because CrowdStrike Falcon sensor, there was a bug which was detected there, and they have taken measures to go ahead and make sure that this doesn't happen in future. But yes, there have been a buzz that was going around that what if the banking server goes down? What if all your money is lost? It's very easier said that things could go wrong, right? But there are a lot of things that goes behind. A bank will not go ahead and just keep their data out and open. There are n number of security put into place. I'm not saying it's not possible, but if it happens, it's a one odd or an isolated situation that needs to be looked into, or it needs to be looked into like that. Because every bank would go ahead and secure their data. It's not one person's data. It's not a penny or a few pennies. The amount that's being stored in a bank, the data that's being stored in a bank is huge. So the security is also huge. Someone trying to break that security is going to go ahead and leave some kind of trails. So when you go ahead and walk, you definitely leave footprints, right? So when you go ahead and try to make any action or try to create an action, and online, you also leave footprints there. So traceability, non-traceability, it's a huge debate. It's going to open a box of worms. But yes, if there is a chance, there are people who are looking into it to make sure that this doesn't happen. Now, a bank would have different either third-party application servers companies or their own in-house security system put into place that this doesn't happen. And so far, we haven't heard a major incident like this, and I do hope that this doesn't happen because they have a robust work architecture, robust security put into place, which makes sure that this doesn't happen. So, as a person who works with security, I could go ahead and say that testing does happen. We do go ahead and try to break the code that we have written. We do go ahead and try to break the scripts that already been set past. So we do have people, or maybe it's not related or related, there's ethical hacking or ethical hackers who goes ahead and tries to breach the security that currently put into place. That is not to show someone that it could be broken, but to go and build it. So if we know that where we are failing, if we know that how, or like a critical or a constructive feedback, right? So when one person gives feedback to someone, a constructive feedback, it needs to not be looked down. It needs to be worked on because everything, there's a scope to go ahead and improve. Improvement is not a one day thing. It's a continuous process that needs to be worked on. So in regards to security, if someone can breach it, that means it gives you a scope to go ahead and secure it. So people like that, in-house people who already work on the security applications, do make sure that you do go ahead and have a daily testing or a certain amount of testing which makes sure that this such situation doesn't arise.
Can artificial emotion be developed anytime soon?
I'm not going to say it's not being worked upon. There are people who want to go ahead and showcase the world that AI could change things. But the major factor, or I would start with the disadvantage and move on to advantage maybe, is that human emotion is not specified or is not defined in set terms. The emotion that I may feel at this moment will not be similar to yours, or the emotion that I understand is not similar to yours, and it's definitely not similar to people across the globe. There are n number of people. They have n number of emotions, and that needs to be queued into an AI, or AI who understands human emotion is still now far fetched, but you never know. It could happen, it couldn't happen. But yes, the restraints that currently being faced is human emotion cannot be defined. When we step out, or how we understand emotions is depending upon different cues that we get from people, different understanding of emotions. A child could go ahead and understand things differently, an adult would understand things differently, even when the words are being said. When a sentence is being said, with the pause that we take, with the pronunciation, with the emotions that we put into, goes in and defines what we are trying to say. So AI understanding that or catching that needs to, at first we need to define what emotion is before we feed it to someone who doesn't understand emotion. So once we have a breakdown that this is what an emotion is, then we could go ahead and feed that, because AI understands things which are mechanically. Therefore, I started the conversation when you asked me if all the jobs would be taken over by AI. Therefore, not all jobs, but yes, set jobs which is already defined. If I go ahead and raise my voice, scold you, you're definitely angry. So there are application which goes ahead and shows your emotion. It reads your face, it reads your emotion, it tries to read your emotion. Now you could go ahead and have two face, right? You are sad, but you're putting up a very brave face and you're saying that you're happy. AI is not going to understand that. But with the change of your voice, with the modulation of your voice, maybe your friend would be able to understand. The people who you are with could understand what your emotion is. So right now, I do not think that there is a huge threat, but you never know if someone is going to invent something new and we would see a robot who understands human emotion, just like you and me.
That's it for today. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me as well, Ananj.